everybody. So this is our first episode of the Cycle Circle Back. This was a show that I had basically been thinking about doing almost since the league started, way back when Gatsby was one of our board members, and he and I were talking about it. But it takes people with some dedication and interest and passion to do this sort of thing. And so I think I've got a team together where we can do this consistently now. And that team will be Goose. We got Gollum here, and I believe Goose and Gollum are typically going to be here each cycle to do this show. We've got Makers and Odd also, and they'll be here. They'll be here off and on when they have time to do it and whatever. So really, what we want to do with this show is, first off, we're going to do a recap of all the matches, just sort of like. Not a breakdown of all the matches, but just like run through who won, and just do a recap of the matches. Here's where we are. Here's who won this cycle and whatever. In the future, we would like to do a segment where we break down either a specific play or a match or a section of a map or whatever, but just some sort of like match breakdown that we can do and discuss, and it could be used as like an educational tool or something like that for some of the players to watch the breakdown, and typically we would like Odd and Makers to be around to do those breakdowns. But like I said, they won't be here every week, so we'll figure it out as we go. So this whole thing is sort of a let's figure it out as we go sort of thing, and hopefully the show will get better and better as we go. But we just wanted to get it kicked off this cycle and just see where we go with it. So. Anyway, hey fellas, let's have some fun.
What's going on, man?
Yeah. So first thing we want to do is we want to toss it to Goose. We're gonna do we're gonna let him do his recap, and then on the other side we'll talk about some lore, like how Dash League came to be. So take it away, Goose.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Goose, coming at you live from the DLN studios. And if I'm breathing heavily, that's because I had to record this multiple times. But here is your cycle recap. All right, here we go. We've got Underdog taking on Jester. First match of the season. Underdog comes away with that win. That was a great game. Sith over Limbo. Of course they're gonna win. They got like lightsabers and stuff. Like, yeah, that was a great game though. Phoenix versus Life. Phoenix coming out of the ashes and getting that victory over Life. Then we've got Wolf taking on 12 AM. 12 AM was on a roll, but then they lost a player and had to forfeit. What's up with that? We've got Control versus Iron. Dasher tier matchup. Control took control and won that game. Then we've got Southern Cross taking on Supernova. Southern Cross getting the win over Supernova. Then 12 AM comes back and they said, we're going to take that W. They got a great hold against Ajax in the payload. That was a great game. UNSC versus Southern Cross. Go Spartans. Yeah. Then we've got ATX versus Hard. ATX, first win of the season. Walker tier matchup. That was great. We've got Life finding their life and getting control over Control, getting that W. That was the second Control joke. Phoenix versus Supernova. Phoenix coming away with that win. Great matchup. Fire versus Hex. They were on fire. They got their flame. They won against Hex. And then we've got Hex coming back and taking on Acid. Not taking Acid, but taking on Acid, and they got that victory. And then finally, we've got Sky versus Sith. Sky, shout out to my teammates. I know that's really biased, but that was a great matchup. Underdog versus XP. XP didn't show up. Underdog gets that victory. Sorry, XP. We got Rook versus Hard. Rook using all the chess pieces in their repertoire, and they got that victory. That was awesome. And then we've got Sky taking on Acid. That was also a great game. More biasness from Goose, but Sky gets that victory. We got ATX versus TBD. That's a lot of letters. ATX gets the win over TBDI. We've got Envy versus Iron. Dasher tier matchup. First of two for Envy. They get that victory in the first one, but then UNSC shows up and they said, no, we're gonna get that victory. And UNSC over Envy. Hi, sweetie. Who's your favorite Dash League team? Envy? You're an Envy fan? Then we've got Rook taking on Emu. Rook coming away with the W. That was fantastic. Then we've got Emu versus XP. Emu coming away with the victory. Limbo versus Fire. Limboing under the competition and getting that victory. And then finally we've got Ajax versus Wolf. Ajax coming away with a very slim victory. And that was just Cycle 1 games. Back to you, Goose. That was a lot. All right, we've got your Cycle 1 highlights coming at you. We've got Ajax versus 12 a.m., and 12 a.m. gets an absolutely monstrous hold on Ajax right on the cusp of this checkpoint to take the win on Launchpad. And this lasts over 30 seconds. Moving on, we've got Supernova versus Phoenix. Spud absolutely terrorizing Phoenix. Pushing bottom B, getting a bunch of kills, and then pushing into their base and doing even more damage. Supernova would go on to lose, unfortunately, but this is a great highlight from Spud. Next up, we got Phoenix versus Supernova. And this is the opposite of what happened before with Ajax. And Supernova gets the overtime and pushes through the checkpoint at the last second. Next up, we got Tom going on an absolute madman 15 kill streak. Unfortunately, did not get picked up by the camera, but there it is. Jason Bourne now with a bunch of shot kills, going completely crazy. This was Sith versus Sky, and Jason Bourne secured the second point with some shocks. Now we've got Zio rolling down the line, taking out 3 members of Rook. Let's get a closer look at that again. Boom, boom, boom. We've got Tickle Monster now in Acid versus Sky. Acid getting pre-checked by Sky, but Tickle Monster just going on a rampage with those rockets. And next up, we've got White Wolf starting off this match right with a double shotgun kill right out of spawn. And this is just outrageous. Boom, boom. And Rocky James Braves for Robin going down. Now we got Sandman with UNSC pushing up into Southern Cross's face. Getting a 3 kill streak. And then finally gets taken out. Now we've got a triple button hold in that same match later on from UNSC. Triple button hold. Wow. And now our last highlight, Eventide, coming in with a post-mortem rocket kill. Gets the kill after death. Absolutely outrageous. And those are your Cycle 1 highlights. Don't forget, if you want to be featured in the highlights, go ahead and submit those on the Discord.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so I've been in this league for a while now. I think I started playing in Season 1, skipped Season 2, and then have been playing since Season 3. And through this whole time, we've had a lot of kind of end-of-season awards, specifically for most valuable dasher, top scorers, top killers, things like that. And that's always awarded at the end of the season. And also there's things like the All-Star, which, again, is selected at the end of the season. So I thought it would be nice, actually, to recognize both individual player success and team success for kind of each individual cycle. And this is just kind of an idea that I got from following other sports league, particularly like the NBA. They have players of the week, players of the month, that type of thing. So I thought it would be a really good idea to kind of encourage engagement and also recognize team and individual player success to create this Players of the Cycle award or recognition that's just basically determined by both team success and individual scores. So yeah, as I mentioned, the criteria is really standout players that played a lot for their team during the cycle and helped lead the team to victory specifically. And that also includes looking at things like the margin of victory, the strength of opponent that the team played, and then of course individual performance in terms of scores, the kill death ratio, things like that. So yeah, I guess for this first cycle, I guess I can just go ahead and jump into it. And the last thing, sorry, I'll mention is we're going to try to keep it to one player per team in each cycle, and we'll name 2 players for each tier. So 2 in Walker, 2 in Sprinter, and 2 in Dasher. So maybe we can start with the Walker here, if that makes sense. For the Walker, there's 2 notable players I want to highlight. First player that I want to highlight is Toshiro. So he is the first player of the cycle for Walker tier, and Toshiro did great this cycle because he helped lead attacks ATX, the brand new team, to a great 4-1 map record in cycle 1. This is of course including 2 match wins overall. And one of these match victories was against the experienced team TBDI. Most notably, Toshiro led his team in kills in 4 out of the 5 maps played during the cycle, including a 93 kills performance in Waterway against the team Hard. So good job, Toshiro. You're the first player of the cycle 1 for Walker tier. And the second player that I want to recognize equally to Toshiro is Lobster Master from Rook. Lobster Master helped lead Rook to a perfect 4-0 map record in cycle 1. And this actually included 2 pre-checkpoint victories on Launchpad, and one of them was against Emu, which has a high ping if you're playing in Australia, and also Lobster Master helped Rook win both Waterways, and the overall score was 6-1 on Waterways. So great job to Lobster Master as well. Now moving on to Sprinter tier. So Sprinter tier, there was a lot of notable performances, and it's kind of splitting hairs for this particular tier. Kind of one notable player that I just want to mention that didn't make it to the player of the cycle for this cycle is Wanderer, who played in 4 maps in cycle 1 and helped lead Sky to a perfect 4-0 record in cycle 1. So great job to Wanderer. But the 2 players of the cycle for Sprinter tier that I had was first Sugarcane from 12 AM. Now, Sugarcane helped secure 3 map wins for his 12 AM team against 2 pretty veteran teams in Ajax and Wolf. And what's most notable about this is he had a performance of 108 kills on Launchpad, and this is against Wolf. So great job, Sugarcane. We're going to be very excited to see how you perform throughout the rest of the season. And the second player of the cycle for Sprinter tier is Chiron from Fire. So Chiron led his team to 4-1 record in cycle 1. And what's most notable about this is he actually top 2 scored in all of the maps for his team. So clearly a very versatile player that was very important to his team's overall victory this cycle. So congratulations to Chiron as well. Now, lastly, the Dasher tier. Dasher tier, it's the most watched tier that we have in this league, and we have some of the best talents fighting against each other in this, the highest level of Dash League. And the 2 players that I wanted to highlight for cycle 1 in Dasher tier is, first of all, Cream from Phoenix. Cream helped lead Phoenix as one of the only 2 teams to go perfect in their map record. They went 4-0 in cycle 1. And this included top killing 3 checkpoint launchpad wins against a fellow contender, Life. So great job to Cream. He was clearly very instrumental to Phoenix's early cycle 1 success. And the second player that I want to highlight for Dasher tier is Sandman from UNSC. Now, UNSC is the other team that went 4-0 with a perfect map record in cycle 1. And one of these victories came against Styx, where Sandman led the team in kills in another high ping pre-checkpoint victory against Styx. And this is and he also put up a great 98 kill performance on Launchpad against former champions Envy. So congratulations to Sandman and Cream in Dasher tier. So yeah, that's it. Those are the 6 players. I'll just reiterate it again. For Walker tier, we have Toshiro and Lobster Master. Toshiro on ATX and Lobster Master on Rook. For Sprinter, we have Sugar King on 12 a.m. and Chiron on Team Fire. And last but not least, for the Dasher tier, players of the cycle 1, we have Cream from Phoenix and Sandman from UNSC. So yeah, I hope you guys, enjoy that. This is really just my opinion based on what I've seen from the scoreboards. A lot of emphasis is put on teams that won a lot during the cycle, and then of course from that, individual performances are also considered. So yeah, congratulations to all the players, and if you guys see any notable players throughout the season, you can DM me, or you can chat about it in the Dash League Discord. So all right, that's it. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Goose, for that recap. So let's get into this lore conversation. First off, what I want to do is I really want to see or talk about how you guys discovered Hyperdash, really, and sort of how we all got to this place. So, origin story, Goose, go.
All right. So funny enough, so this is how it went down. I had just moved across the country alone. I didn't have any friends. I started a new job, so I was really bored. And I decided to, out of the blue, go out and buy a Quest 2 because I saw Resident Evil 4 was being advertised for VR. And so I picked that up and played through it a couple of times, and that was one of my favorite games growing up. And then I was looking for more, and I actually was looking at Super Hot VR, and I thought that Hyperdash was that, and I downloaded it. And turns out it was not Super Hot VR, but I had an absolute blast. It took me right back to like the Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare days. And I had a ton of fun just messing around in lobbies and everything. And then actually, I ran into Jaded in a public lobby doing call-outs, and I was like, wow, there's actually more to this game than I thought. And then that's when I started seeing all the advertisements for Dash League and decided to join up. And my first season was last season.
So you didn't get in by someone bringing you in. You saw like ads, like the in-game ads.
Yeah,
or...
yeah. The ads worked.
Oh, sweet, they worked.
They worked.
All right. Awesome.
But
That's good to know.
Jada did mention it, but the ads were also what brought me in, so they do work.
Yeah, awesome. Gollum, how about you? Give us the Gollum origin story and the name too. I want you to give the name origin story too.
Right. I'm not Gollum. I am a little bit in the pre-ad but post early days kind of stage of Dash League is when I got into it. It all started out when the Quest 2 came out, as with at this point a large majority of the people in Dash League. The Quest 2 came out, and 3 of my friends, Cogswatch and Willow and Saltus Maximus, all got Quest headsets. And I didn't feel like shelling out money for a VR because the only experience I'd had was some older headset that Willow had that was connected to a computer. It didn't look very good, and it seemed okay, but most of the games I like to play, I play with friends. But 3 out of the 4 of us all lived together, along with Scoops, who didn't have a headset at the time either. And we saw how much fun they were playing games like Pop 1 and other solo games also, and we would just clear space in the big living room and have people play VR together. And that changed gears rapidly once I found Hyperdash just on the store. It just seemed like a fun game. I'm pretty sure I'm the first one who found it. And then told the rest of the Loop gang about it. And Loop was just an inside joke for kind of our friend group that includes other people who don't play this game. And so we went into a pub, all 5 of us into a pub, and just had Loop as a clan tag, because we saw a clan tag was there, 4 characters, but we were just messing around having fun. We didn't know anything about the game. And I believe it's Garbage Man who found us and was wondering if we were a team, and we had no idea what this whole Dash League thing was about. And from there, we joined the Soul Clan, we joined Dash League, we make our appearance on the scene, and the rest is history. But it all started with a group of 5 friends who knew each other, just kind of messing around and not realizing that teams were an actual thing here.
Yeah, I want to do Goose. We'll get back to you in a second, but I want to do the origin of everyone's name too. What's the origin of your name, Gollum?
Okay, so the first computer game I ever played was the original StarCraft. In 2009 is when I played it. I've always been into RTS games since then, probably because that's the first one I played. But in order to play online, you've got to make an account, as with every game. And I'm also obsessed with Lord of the Rings. Big fan of it. But Gollum is a popular character. A lot of people know him. If you know Lord of the Rings, obviously you know him. So that name was taken. It was just the first thing that came to my mind, Gollum. So in my 9-year-old brilliance, I say not Gollum, because, that's not who I am. That name's already taken. And lo and behold, not Gollum is not only not taken on Brood War sites in 2009, but on most sites, Gollum is taken, not Gollum is not. And I've just stuck with it ever since.
I love it. You learned the loophole. Shit, my name's taken.
Loophole,
well,
exactly.
I'm not actually that name. That's not me. So. I should have done that, because Lateralus is taken in a lot of places, but not Lateralus.
Hey,
like,
there's the real Donald Trump, right? I mean, maybe he
Not the real
saw
Donald
what
Trump.
you did, and he was like, "Man, that's a good idea. Let me put my own spin on it."
Goose, let's get your name origin story real quick.
Yeah, so originally I started off with playing the game with a portion of my last name, like my real last name, and then Omega at the end of it. And I was like, that's kind of really nerdy. I don't like that. And I was like, I can't even play with my real last name. I don't want to do that. And so I was going through a bunch of different names, and I saw a sweatshirt that somebody was wearing on my campus that said, God's Silliest Goose. And I was like, that stuck out to me so much. And so I decided to go with Silliest Goose. And actually, my clan tag was God's for a while before I actually joined a team.
I do love the name Silliest Goose. It was a good name.
I know. Maybe next season I'll bring it back.
I mean, I'm gonna ban you if you don't.
Okay.
I think didn't we talk about, like, each season you'll be a different type of goose?
Yeah.
Like, what was it next
exactly.
season? Like, I don't know, Angry Goose or something like that. Whatever. But
I thought it would be funny if someday I go to visit Canada and I can play a game and put Canadian Goose as my name.
Canadian Goose, cooked goose. Yeah, there's a lot of good options. All right, let's get to Maker's origin story and name origin.
Yep. So what? We were talking about back in the COVID days. I was drinking a bottle of Maker's Mark. And that was something I looked at and was kind of like, you know what? That name Maker's kind of fits my personality in other aspects. I like making things, building things. I also kind of make things happen. I'm known for winging it in real life. Like, if you go on a trip with me, nothing is planned. We're just winging it all the way. So it kind of fit me in different ways. And then I embraced it and stuck with it. And it was available. Like what Gollum was saying, it's like when I start entering into places, I was like, hey, it's available. It's like, how aren't people taking something?
So it'll directly be your fault whenever we see a not Makers come in. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then people will think it's me because of Gollum's fault, not Gollum's fault. I mean,
thank you for the correction.
It is not Gollum's fault. Damn it, Gollum, not Gollum.
And
Anyway,
how'd you get into the game?
Oh yeah. So I mean, once again, COVID hit. I was at like a Walmart right when like the toilet paper craziness was happening. You know, like I was walking around the Walmart while people just scrambling for basic supplies, and I didn't care. You know, I had plenty of toilet paper actually, and so I went to the electronics aisle and I saw the Quest One in the box, like in the glass. And I asked, I was like, "Hey, is that like real? Like, it's not like a display thing. That's like an actual." He's like, "Yeah, that's our last one." I was like, I Googled it real quick just to see, and there was some demand for it. So it's like, all right, if I buy it, I had no research, had no idea, I just bought it and then got it, brought it home, didn't touch it that night. The next day, powered it up. And it was like, whoa, this thing is awesome. I was like, this is actually like, it's not janky as hell. Because I had a DK2, back when that first released by Oculus, and that was just like a test type thing, and it was garbage. It was kind of cool to experience some stuff, but just get an idea, but it wasn't usable for like a gaming platform. And then, or at least at the time, and then Quest One got it. Immediately got into the Quest store. I think it was Robo Recall was the first game that like I didn't just like get out, exit out of, and then I played it to completion and I loved it. Ripping robots' arms off and all that kind of stuff. And then right when I beat that, I was like, all right, let's see if there's any like PvP multiplayer stuff because I'm a competitive person. And so I went online, started doing research because you couldn't really get stuff in the Quest store. It was garbage. I mean, you had like hardly any options at that time, and then everything was on the side Quest app, or you had to download it from the Discord. So went online, watched some YouTube videos, and then someone brought up Hyperdash, and then I think they even had the link to the Discord in the YouTube video. I clicked it, got into the Discord, and from there downloaded it, and I was hooked. And so that's kind of how I fell into it. I downloaded Pavlov, a couple other games. I just never even got to them. It's like I booted Hyperdash first because of Robo Recall, and then like it was so good, it was like I'm not even gonna deal with this other garbage. I'm just gonna enjoy playing this, and so stuck around, and the rest is history.
Nice. What alpha was it that you came in?
Alpha 4. That was April like 2020.
Okay. Was it Virtual Reality Oasis Mike? Was it his video that you saw?
That sounds right. It's not, but honestly, I don't remember the specific, but that
Yeah.
sounds right because I
He
know
was-
other people mentioned that they found out through
Yeah.
a YouTube video. I was like, that had to have been the same guy.
Yeah, me and Style Dev and I think Laz also. Lots of people like his video produced for Triangle Factory. I think their first like big bump
Right.
was his video there. But yeah, Odd. Let's get into your story, your name,
Hey.
and yeah.
My name. All right. So here's how my name started out. I've always been someone that if I'm gonna do something, I want to do it right, and I want to do it as well as I can. So when I was first making my Discord account back in 2019, I was like, I gotta have Leviathan because it's a big scary monster. It dominates, it pushes everything out of the way. And I was like, I don't know what else to put though. And so I just used a random name generator for like 2 hours until I finally got Auditorium. And I was like, that's cool. Auditorium. I'll use Auditorium. That'll be my name. Auditorium Leviathan. And then I got into, this actually leads into how I got my start in Hyperdash is that on Discord at first people just called me Auditorium Leviathan or Levy or Audi. And then I went into the WAN scene where I was top 10 for a while. And they called me Audi. ODDI. And over time that got shortened to Odd more and more frequently. And then I got into Dash League, and people were like, "We're not saying that long ass thing," or in Hyperdash, "Oh, we're not saying that long thing. I'm not reading that long thing. Your name is Odd," and I'm like, "I'm Odd now, I guess." It's me.
I like
I'm
how
Odd.
your name was. I like how you picked Leviathan because it's a big scary monster, and you're like, but that's not enough. I need to find something to put in front of that. Leviathan's not good enough.
And the thing that really stuck was Odd because for anyone that's interacted with me for any even medium amount of time, you will know that is. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm cranky. I'm not like other girls. It's like nah, I'm weird.
Yeah,
It's just
it
how
fits.
I am.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
and yeah, that's
is.
how I got my start in Hyperdash is that I was playing wands competitively. It was like a 1v1 duelist game. I was really good at it, and I was looking for something else to play because Wands was kind of dying, and this was right as COVID was ramping up. And I heard about this game on like Reddit or something, or wherever. I just heard like whispers about this game, and I was like, Hyperdash. What's Hyperdash? And so I went into the Discord, and of course, I hadn't downloaded it at this point. I asked a billion questions. I asked, "Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you do that?" None of you guys were here, but gosh, I annoyed the hell out of the current community, because I hadn't even played the game, and I just already would not stop talking. It was bad. And then as the game progressed, I joined an Alpha 1. I made my own little clan called 40, which I'm sure we'll talk about more. And then I went on to make my team Arc, now, which has I would say a semi-descendant, being Aesir, as 2/3 of the Aesir admin team is from Arc. And yeah, that's how I ended up here today.
Very cool. It totally fits for you to say like you just came in and immediately started talking and wouldn't shut up. It seems very, very odd.
It's believable.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely get to 4D in a little bit. So I'll go ahead and do my origin, and we'll get into the lore. So my name, I think by now a lot of people know where I got the name from. It's my favorite song from my favorite band. It's a Tool song called Lateralus, and I think it's pronounced Lateralus, Lateralus, not Lateralus. Yeah, Lateralus, but not Lateralus. I think most people pronounce it Lateralus first. They put the emphasis on the first syllable instead of the AL. So the emphasis is on the AL, not the lat. And so anyway, I love that band. I've seen them live like 7 or 8 times. They're phenomenal, and that's my favorite song from them. And I think it's like widely known as one of their best songs and stuff. And so I really like the name. I'm going to keep the name. So screw you, Lazarus. I'm not going to 1v1 you for the name. Because I also think your name is awesome. Lazarus is a perfect gamer name, because any game where you spawn and come back to life after dying Lazarus is a very fitting name. And so my origin is a lot like Maker's. We had sort of the same pathway, like almost almost the exact same pathway. Like COVID time. Well, actually, I guess a little bit before COVID, some months before COVID, I went to go visit my brother, and he had a CV1, and I'd always been interested in VR, and like, man, I hope one day that'll be, we can play games in VR and do whatever. Like, I always thought it was an interesting concept, but like anything you had seen VR, like, before the last, I don't know, handful of years, for me, like I said, I wasn't like really immersed in the whole scene and reading up the news and keeping updated. I just knew VR was a thing, but as far as I knew, VR looked like Tron still, and it was just like ancient and whatever. So I go visit my brother, and he has a CV1, and he shows me Robo Recall, and I play around with that for a little bit. I punch his doorknob and break his controller and all that because I'm having fun and like going all out murdering these robots. And I'm like, man, as soon as this thing becomes untethered, I'm gonna get one. And then that was just a few months before the Quest 1 came out. So it's like, oh, here's an untethered version. So I got that right away. And of course I got Robo Recall and played that game, beat that game. I tried a few various different games. There's one fighting game. It's not drunken bar fights, but it's something similar to that where you go around punching people, and it was fun for a bit, but I don't even think I ever got past the first level. Just like, it's fun a little bit, but it doesn't grab my attention. And there were like a handful of games that were like that. It's like, these are okay, but they don't grab my attention. I don't want to stay here because, like Makers, I'm super competitive. And so like I like a good single player game or whatever, but we know that like meta store games there aren't that many that are like amazing like just single player playthrough games. So it's more like, okay, to keep me gripped in this game, I need like some competition against other people. So I'm always looking for the competitive scene for a game if I'm gonna like invest any time in it. And I played UT 2004 for years and just loved that game. I loved how once the map starts, everyone's on an exact even playing field. Like there's none of this like buying weapons and teams have different amounts of money to pay for weapons, or I'm at this level so I get these perks over you, and it's not a hero shooter where this guy can do this and this guy can do that. It's like everyone is exactly the same. We all have the same resources, and who wins is based purely on skill and knowledge of the game. That's what I like. I don't like losing a fight because I'm a light and I come up against the heavy or something like that. Like that's annoying. So I was I was looking for a game that would be like that in VR, and saw the video from Virtual Reality Oasis Mike. That guy's name is way too long. Um, and the way he was describing it, and I was looking at the gameplay and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, this looks like it would be a great competitive game. And so I got the game. I didn't even know what Discord was. I thought it was like a file sharing thing because it's like that's how you get the game. It's like you got to go to Discord and get this. I just thought it was like this file sharing program. So download Discord, go to the server. I don't even read anything. I just go to the download link and just start playing the game. And um, so my first day, I can't remember what name I used first, but eventually I used Makers Loves This. I used erect, like the
That's
letter
the best.
E and then the word rect. So if you read it quickly, it just says erect. And so I love that name. Played that for a while. And in one of my first games, I don't know, I'm sure Makers and Odd will remember these guys, but not you other ones. But Kim423 and
Damn.
and 678 were
Oh
two
my
people
god.
that were in my first server, and they obliterated me.
Dude, 678 was a monster.
Yeah, he was great. I miss that dude. And
Yeah, he was
and
awesome.
I was one of those noobs that was like, "How'd you kill me in one shot, dude? Are you cheating? How did you kill me in one shot, bro?" and then I didn't learn about charge shots until a little later. It didn't take me as long as some people who played for months without knowing charge shots, but it probably took me a couple days or something to realize charge shots. And so anyway, I even though I was getting destroyed in the game, it was like, all right, I know like I'm new and these guys have been playing for a little bit and I could get better and I'm not just going to get destroyed. But for like a couple of weeks, I was just a negative KD player, which is of course frustrating, but I'm having so much fun playing the game. And honestly, what what immediately helped me transition from negative KD player to positive KD player was when I learned in that original lobby between maps where you had a divider between the two teams. Red team was on one side, blue team was on the other side. There was one of those shield dividers between us, and there's a button on each side. So it's like the players vote for a map, and then one person from each side has to hit a button to start the maps and say, like, okay, everyone's ready. But you could glitch out of that and glitch over to the other side, and you had guns in there. Like you just spawned with guns. They didn't have you empty-handed back then, so you spawned with guns. And so I saw someone glitch out to the other side, and one day I'm like, I gotta work on my movement mechanics, my aim, my everything. And so how do I do that? There's no training mode in here at this point. So I just went to an empty server and I glitched over to the other side with the bots, and I just started messing with the game mechanics and the aim and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm realizing how important dashing is. Like dashing isn't just a way to get from one place to another. It's how you play the chess match, and you strategically set yourself up to defeat your opponent by the way you're dashing around them and confusing them and whatever. And and so right away after getting a little bit of practice in against those bots, that like the very next game I played, I'm a positive KD player, and I've just been positive since then. So just taking a little bit of time and training and learning like the mechanics and stuff like that changes all that for you. And so anyway, I'm playing for a while. Eventually, I realized, yeah, this is a game I want to get involved in, and I want to, just get more deeply involved in. And so I go back to the Discord. I'm like, I need a real name, so I ditched erect and I chose the name Lateralus. And so people started, I just started talking to people a little bit in the Discord, not too much because I wasn't. So here was my thing originally, is like I figured at some point a league would develop. And so I didn't want to like choose some clan or whatever to join before there was a league, and like I just get locked into this clan because when I played in UT, clans were like loyalty was such a big thing. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're in a clan, you got to be fiercely loyal to that clan or else whatever, and that like loyalty in Dash League is not a thing. Players are like bouncing all over the place, and that surprised the hell out of me when it first started. So I'm like, so I didn't want to join any clans early on because I wanted to find the one that was like we're serious about competition, and we're talented players, we're good players, we want to improve, we want to win out. And so I didn't make a choice. Of course, at the time there were only two clans, which was 4D and HH.
One of which
And
was full of kids.
yeah, well, we'll get into 4D in a bit, but like yeah, HH asked me to join a few times, but I just wasn't ready to pick a team, and I know the game was still alpha, it wasn't even released or anything like that, but we didn't know when a release date was going to be, and I'm sitting in this in my apartment with this is COVID time, fucking nothing to do except play the game for like 5 hours a day, and I want to do more. I want to play competitively in all this. And there was Makers and I will probably remember the Puff team. So there was this team going around with the Puff tag, as in like Powerpuff Girls.
It was like a secret,
And,
big secret. Wasn't it?
and it was a mystery team. Like all the Puff players were aliased players, and so no one knew who they were.
Well,
what?
Some of us
Well,
knew
what?
who they were.
Well, fine, whatever. So anyway, so Puff plays like a couple scrimmages. I think did they play 4D odd?
No, the first time we played that group was when they were ILLI.
Okay, so I think they maybe played HH. I know they played HH, but they had like maybe a couple of scrims, and then Fathead approached me in a server one time, and I knew Fathead. I mean, at this time the game is much smaller. We don't have like there's probably like I don't know 15 servers total or whatever. It's just a really small game. It's alpha. It's early alpha, and so like Fathead because you're gonna cross paths sometimes with him, and his personality and all that sort of stuff. And I like Fathead, and so he told me, hey, I've got this like group of players. It's like I'm just picking out like who I see are like the best players in the game. We're just hanging out in this server over here, whatever. And so I'm like, oh, cool, thanks for the invite. And I pop in there, and then I'm in there and I realize, oh, these are the Puff guys. This is the Puff team. So I see what they had like been talking about and whatever. And so I'm like, oh, these guys are the people who are going around trying to be competitive, like scrimmaging and whatever. That's awesome. So this is it's good. I joined this group. I didn't know at the time like this would end up being a team. I didn't know I was joining like basically a team server. I thought this was just a bunch of friends and whatever. And I guess really maybe they were confused about that also, that whether they were a team or not. So anyway, the people were bunch of OGs. So it's like Fathead, we had Kim, we had 678, we had Maniac, which is you guys don't know Maniac, but that's Maniacal's dad. Maniac.
Awesome player.
He was great. As is Maniacal. Maniacal's been great for a very long time too. We had Maverick and Maverick's wife, Whoopsie, and then I know there's more, but
awesome.
but I can't remember.
Moderation?
Oh, no, not Moderation. He went in there. We had Despair and Maestro.
Oh God, you stole Despair. That made me that made me mad. I tell you.
Whatever. You had 800 people in your team. You could spare one.
Who was the founder or the head? It was like Chupo or Pablo. Like forgot the Spanish.
Yes. Chapo.
Oh
yes.
El Chapo.
El Chapo.
I'm still good friends with him. Great guy.
Yeah, he was a drug lord, but he also in his downtime would play a lot of VR.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't know a Chapo. So man, Chapo, he was a great alpha player. He was my hardest fight like that early in the alpha because he dashed the same way I did. And dude, I'm so mad at Sprint because it's ruined my dashing. Like my dashing used to be so good, twisting people up and turning them around and whatever. And when me and Chapo would fight, he would do the same thing to me, and all of our fights would end once both of us ran out of dashes, and then we were just standing there shooting at each other because we were pretty good at like dashing the hell out of the way. Like as soon as someone puts you in their sights, you dashed out of the way and whatever. Those were fun fights. I miss a lot of those elite players. I miss Chapo a lot. I miss Fathead a lot. I wish that bitch bastard would come back. Kim, of course, I miss Maniac. I miss that whole team. I miss those guys. Maverick. Those were good times. And so then this gets us up to about when Dash League starts, because I joined this group of people and I see, they're going around playing as Puff. We did one game where it was just us against us, because we had I think we had 15 people or something on the team, and that's why the original roster limit for Dash League was 15. It's like, well, I got 15 people in this team, let's just roster limit 15. And so anyway, we had an internal scrimmage one time, Puff versus Puff, and that was super fun. And I wanted that to keep going. And so I decided I'm gonna see if I could get this small little, King of the Hill league thing going while we wait for the real league to come in. And when I played League in UT 2004, I didn't know who ran the league. I knew none of that stuff. I just knew okay, here are the matches. And all those were King of the Hill. They're the ones that I played in were King of the Hill. A team would challenge another team for their position on the ladder. And that's how it worked. So that's why I set up the original one like that. But I guess I always figured the game developers set the leagues up and stuff like that. I'm not a big time gamer, getting into gamer news or whatever. I'll usually find a game that I like to play and I'll play the hell out of it and almost play nothing else. And that's pretty much how I've done VR. I play Hyperdash and almost nothing else. And so anyway, I figured maybe I could get a handful of teams and we could get a few of these kind of informal scrimmages and stuff going. So I set up the Dash League server without telling anybody about it, and it didn't take long. You just set up some basic channels. I set up some basic rules for the league, and all this stuff took one post that wasn't Nitro, so it was only 2,000 characters. All of my rules were in one single 2,000 character post, but it wasn't even 2,000 characters. So the rules have grown and grown since that time, and Makers and Odd are at fault for a lot of the reasons why the rules are so expensive.
You just admitted that you didn't put any work into the rules and you barely wrote anything, and it was basically on a piece of toilet paper. And then you blame us for making the rules for you?
Yeah,
Look,
I wrote.
All we did was make examples out of possible mishaps. That's all we did.
Right, so I made the original rules off some post-used toilet paper, and that's how we started off. And then they grew over time. Yeah, so anyway, I set that server up, and the first people I bring in there are the other people from this group that Fathead made. We didn't have a name at the time. I guess we would maybe call ourselves Puff or whatever. We didn't have any official name. And Maverick, I think, was the first one that hopped in. He's like, "Dude, you set this up already? This looks like it's ready to go." Because I tried to have everything set up so that it would be ready to go, and I brought them in first to get their opinion of things, and they said, "Yeah, it looks like it's ready to go." So then I was like, "All right." So then I posted in the Hyperdash Discord about the league. Here's the server invite, all that sort of stuff. So the server starts getting people in there, and one of the original rules was, it's not clans, because again, I'm not a big time gamer in a whole bunch of different games or whatever. I don't know how a lot of different game leagues are organized and whatever, but I remember in UT 2004 it was called clans. All the teams were clans. And here it's the way clans are identified, and this is directly Odd's fault, because at the time HH was not so huge. HH maybe had 30 people in it, but Odd's 4D team had about 300 or 400 people. And so it's all the... So yeah, so if it was if a clan is a team, okay, then it's it's going to be 4D versus HH, and that's it. And that's not much of a league. So I had to make the rule teams. So it's you could have multiple teams from one clan and blah blah blah. And I was expecting 4D to produce a bunch of the teams, but you guys, what was it, Odd? Originally it was you joined with one team, and then we made you break it up into a couple other teams or something like that, right?
Yeah, so originally it was 3 teams. So it was 4DV, which was like advanced, because the 4 is like the A, blah 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 blah. And then we had 42D2, and then we had V4DR. You can see that we like Star Wars over there.
Yeah, very French clan of you, the way those teams came out.
Yeah, and then what I found is that the other two, actually, Garbage Man, was the captain of V4DR.
Really?
He was he was. He was one of my captains, and what I found is that with like kind of shrugging off players just doesn't work. You do have to give them their attention. So those two teams kind of didn't work, and we just ended up doing the one team, 4DV.
Well, I remember we used to have conversations with you about this because you were very reluctant to move on from your 4D community clan and become just a very focused team, focused on winning. And so we were telling it. And the other thing too is like, yeah, Vader and 42D2 weren't doing really well, weren't surviving really well because you would farm them. You would take their best players and put them on 4DV, and so it was just sort of kept them in this status of limbo. And of course, that's not that doesn't set them up for success very well. So I think eventually, you made the right decision and just kind of
I shut down 4D and changed 4DV directly to ARC, which is what it stayed.
So I have to push back a little bit on this. I always felt like that narrative or that story was just so that the decision of deleting a 400-person server overnight made sense. But if you look at like the context of that decision, you had tons of pressure. I think you scrimmed the devs, right? You scrimmed the devs, right?
Yeah, we scrimmed the devs. Might I add, we walloped them.
Well, of course.
Well, they're...
But no, we scrimmed the developers. The big pressure to get a team together was really was that dev thing, because they wanted to scrim us, and we were like, okay, we'll throw something together. But dissolving 4D was, I think, a couple months later. I think that was like 4 or 5 months later, and it was just a point where the clan was not super alive.
I wasn't saying the dev thing. I was saying you guys came off that destruction of the devs. You guys had the biggest numbers. You were also looking like you had maybe the best talent. And that was the question: who's better, the HH older dudes, that old guard with Maniac and all these guys and Lat, or the 400 army of younger dudes? So so how I remember it is you had a lot of pressure to be the best because not only were you armed with the manpower, you had 4 teams. You also were very vocal, and you had seniority as far as age in the game, not age in real life. But still, all those things you add it together, and then you add in you had a family of RDF people that you weren't able to recruit. That was steamrolling pubs. Right?
That was scary, man. That was, I tell you, I have never like openly admitted that, but that was terrifying to me because I had, up until that point, I was very confident in my recruiting skills. I was able to grab like almost everyone that was not in HH. I was even able to get some HH.
Hold on.
And then the guys came along. Almost everyone.
Can I go over your recruiting skills real quick for 4D?
Please.
This is exactly how it would happen. Someone would come into the Hyperdash server and say, "Hey, I'm new," and then immediately after that was Odd was like, "Join 4D, join 4D, join 4D."
Hey,
you know you want to join 4D.
We gave a free lesson. We gave content. We have
overly aggressive.
But it was overly aggressive. Recruiting noobs he knew nothing about.
That's true. But we also got
your original thing. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, if you have 90% of the players in the game on your clan, you're also going to have more than 90% of the talent probably.
Oh yeah,
but like that was your original thing. That was your original thing. Was like you wanted to have the biggest clan, and so you try to swoop it anyway. That's why there's a swoop reaction in the Dash League servers, because someone would come in and Odd was there to swoop them the fuck up and put them.
And that's why there's a time limit post in the main Hyperdash server for clan.
Oh my God, yeah.
There wasn't a time limit before Odd. I remember when it happened.
Yeah, because somebody else would post their like server, and then like 2 minutes later, I would post mine.
Yeah, you'd stomp
Yeah,
him.
you
You have
bury the
400
shit out of
people.
it.
Let the dude have
Yeah.
3 friends at least. Come on, bro. So,
Yeah.
so let me get back to why I was trying to give my perspective of the implosion of 4D. So you lead into the King of the Hill, right? You got the RDF. I was able to join forces with RDF, and so obviously TBD is a known no name at this point. You know, we're not part of either group, but you guys know exactly who these RDF guys are. Well, we're starting to steamroll through teams in this King of the Hill, but you would not scrim us, nor would you play us when we challenged you guys.
No.
But understandably, because well, yeah, you were trying to prepare. I know. I've been in competition my whole life, so it's like I saw what you were doing. You had tremendous pressure to perform, so you were like, guys, we got to get our stuff together. We got to prepare. We got to do this because you saw the threat. Then finally, we had a scrim, not a match, a scrim, and it was a destruction. And then within 24 hours, you deleted the 4D server.
Was that?
I didn't know that.
Really?
That's the real history. So that's why I said all this time I wanted to let you have the you know that's a big thing, you know, and you're young too at the time, you know. Come on, how many years ago we're talking about? So
this is 4 years ago. I was 15.
Yeah. So in my mind, it's like, you know, it's like, dude, that is a lot of pressure. You have so many people you're trying to lead to like the victory lane or whatever, and then like, bro, the RDF guys. I mean, you're talking about a family of game. You know, like how are you gonna compete with like they were making cardboard boxes of the maps in their dinner? Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna, you're not gonna win.
It's both things though, makers.
Well,
yeah, real quick on it's both things because it wasn't just me. I remember other people also. I don't remember who, but do you remember like I would come to you and talk to you about like you need to ditch that whole clan thing. Like if you want to like succeed in the league and whatever, then you need to like focus on your team, be done with this community clan bull crap, and like focus. And it wasn't just me; it was a bunch of people. I remember like talking to you about that. So it's probably like you had that pressure from us to be like, hey, take it more seriously because you're going to lag behind if you're trying to manage 400 people. And then probably like you get stomped by early TBD, which that was D's original name was TBD, to be determined. And then D one day finally decided, okay, it's time to be determined.
No, you know what? You know what day they decided that, Lat?
What?
It was the grand finals of season 1. That's when they decided that.
Oh yeah, douchebags.
Yeah. Exactly. So TBD was a placeholder the whole time. We didn't come up with a name. I can still remember one of the options thrown out was the most retarded. I mean, dumb option. Sorry, snowflakes. It was Titanium Raptors. Can you imagine? TIR something. I was like, I don't know. Either way, basically all the ideas were garbage, and it was
a suggestion.
What? What was that?
Was it Moon?
No. I mean, no. Like it was.
That was Baker's idea. He realizes
no,
now how
at
bad
the time,
it was.
RDF didn't join us at this time. So.
Yeah. You were just like.
So you got to remember, Lat started the league early. I came in April, May, right? So May is when he started the league. I remember messaging Lat like 2 weeks after I started playing the game because he was already getting the ball rolling on that, and then like a week or two later, he already got the league going. So
I also introduced you to RDF and Eskimo.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And I messaged you. I even have a screenshot. We keep like some archives of stuff, and it was May 11th. I messaged you. Me and Esky want to start, and you introduced me to Esky like a day or two before I sent you that message.
And I remember because you said I was looking for people who would be captains because still to this day there's a lot of people who want to play, but not a lot of people who want to be captains and take on the responsibility. And you were someone that came to me and said like I want to run a team. And so I'm like, all right, let's find him players and whatever. And I had heard about RDF. I don't remember who told me about hey, there's these RDF people like they're looking to be a team and whatever. I'm like, okay, I have some people to set them up with. So like I put you guys together and it was or I introduced you and then you guys made all the rest happen and whatever. And it just it was what it was. You guys like just fucking steamrolled the competition after that because I think like you and 1V are of the same mind as far as like just trying to dominate competition. I mean, 1V has his children playing games all day long. I'm sure he'd be the happiest father in the world to have like 3 professional gamer kids,
And honestly, when me and 1V spoke, he was very guarded over even the fact that him and his family. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't. It's the internet. It's early day. He didn't want anyone to know anything. He's just trying to have some fun with his
Yeah.
family. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I mean,
um,
he had said he'd had issues in the past before with like people, because
oh
he said he'd been playing competitively for years and years and years, and that he's had like I don't know doxing issues or whatever kinds of issues in the past. So when it came
yep.
to his kids, he was super protective.
Well, and
Yeah,
imagine joining a team or a clan or anything, and like what you and your kids join some other person's team and be like under their man, like it's and you're coming from a gamer background. It's like I don't want to
Yeah,
deal with this. I don't want my like how even have my kid. I don't even want them to know they're my kids, nor do I want them to be exposed to this kind of stuff. So when I reach 1v, I'm an adult. I'm not a kid, and I was like, hey man, I don't have enough guys. You don't got enough guys. Let's just roll into this league. Let's get started, and then we wing it. I'll grab some more people. You grab some more people. We'll split off. Or if it works out, it works out. Who cares? And then like my attitude, his attitude, it meshed. I didn't ask him any questions. I was like, well, you run your like. Once I figured out it was a family, I was like, yeah, I mean, bro, you do what you guys do. And it's like, we'll make it work. So we would like have Esky plug in. I would plug in every now and then. I think Dubois plugged in. So we were basically like two teams under one roof for like a very small period of time until we ended up realizing we had chemistry or worked out and same mentality and all that jazz. Once we learned about each other, but it was random that
that's
happened.
makersing it happen. It's like so you and 1V were the original captains. I remember this conversation. Makers was like, so you're their father, I'll be their stepfather.
And we're gonna take over the world. Yeah, that was our conversation.
Yeah.
By the way, we got real quick. We do have Goose and Gollum here. If you guys have questions about something, then ask it, because I think that would be part of the interesting part of the conversation. Is like any questions you guys had about how anything happened or came to be or whatever. Because there's a lot of new people who will be like listening to this to be like, well, what about this? What about that? So ask your questions as we go.
I think it's
Did you
just
have one, Goose?
fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just fascinating to see how the league developed from something so small, and now look how large it is, and how many people are involved in making it work. It's just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it just kind of fell into place that way, because when I started the thing, I did not have the intent to have the game's like primary league, or to have like 30 something teams at one point. At our highest, I think we had 35 or 36 teams and whatever. Like I never expected it to get that way. I started the thing off as like this King of the Hill league, thinking, all right, I'll get maybe 6 or 7 teams, but like it'll be awesome because we can scrimmage each other and have some competitive fun while we wait for the real league to develop, or to to come down once the game releases and whatever.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of rolled into that. Like people started joining, they were having fun with the way it was set up, and other people in the community too. It was like it wasn't just a bunch of gamer teenagers, like angsty little brat teenagers. I mean, Odd was there, but at the same time, it was COVID, so it was like all these, like Maniac, who's a father and has a real job and whatever. Like so many people are at home for COVID, they can't do anything, so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to escape and be able to do something. So it was ideal timing to start it up, and just have this fun group of people that were like a bunch of like ads and middle-aged people who are actually looking to have fun and socialize, rather than just, again, angsty teens who are looking to like be racist and be edgy and like all that, trying to like test how bad they could be online because their parents aren't monitoring them at the time. That sort of crap that you get among like mostly teenage community. So it was just things just fell into
well, I was gonna say the one thing that you brought up of the socialization thing, like it's so awesome, because I've met like IRL friends because of Dash League, like Jaded and Jake.
quickly, dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's only been a year, and I've already made real life friends through this league, and I think it's.
I thought I
really
saw
cool.
I saw the picture of Jaded's wedding, and with you there, and there like was Humbles there too,
Yeah,
and like one other person.
Humbles was there, and then Max Defense was there too.
Oh, Sergeant Suck.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's so awesome. And we've had a couple like couples or marriages or something, right? There was
there was one for sure, and I don't think they're around anymore. I can't remember what their names were, but Dre did an interview with
I remember like
yeah.
Raspy
it was
Box.
like King Matrix and Queen Matrix, right?
Well,
I
yeah,
think they were
well that
a
is
couple
one.
beforehand,
But
though.
yeah, but there was ones that like met through the game, and I
Yeah.
swear there was a second couple too. But either way, it's
Maybe.
pretty cool when you hear about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and,
it's awesome. Like
yeah.
I thought Goose and Jaded and Humbles and all them. I thought you guys were real life friends
No.
because it's like you guys have not been around that long and you're already like meeting up in real life. It's like usually it's like, all right, let me get to know you online for a couple of years
Well-
before I'm gonna be like, hey,
I
this
have-
is who I really
and
am.
the funny thing
Zero
is,
people.
it started off as a joke. Like I was in one of her lobbies and she said, "Hey, I'm getting married. Like, come to my wedding." And I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna do it." And she had mentioned where she lived. I'm like, "That's not that far away. Like, it's a drive, but it's not an insane amount of driving to get there." And then
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna go up to your parents and just act like they're best friends, and but it was a great time, and like I said, it's crazy to think about, but now I talk to them all the time. Like Jake and Jaded are like crazy good friends of
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that the league can like facilitate stuff like that. That's awesome. And it's it's exactly what you want out of any sort of community, which I've always called the people in this league a community because I mean we're small enough to where it's like a small town. Everyone knows who everyone else is, even to the point of like someone new comes
Right.
in and everyone looks at him suspicious. You watch any like movie about the
I
Old
know.
West, like the new guy who strolls through town, everyone looks at him and like clutches their gun. Am I gonna have to shoot this person? Like,
Do you guys remember
true.
the Miss Kitty stuff?
Yeah,
dude,
yeah,
that
the
was
person
when
couldn't
Elite
speak.
was around because Elite was about to recruit her.
That was the first like big scare I think that the league has ever had. That was
Yeah,
Well,
because they
yeah.
were talented and they were like, I
Yeah.
have a condition where I can't speak on microphone, and it's like, bro, you're an alias. You're
that
an
was-
alias.
was it
Who you
after or
smurfing as, bro?
Makers? I think that was after Cryptos.
Yeah, well, yeah, you
Shut up,
obviously
Cryptos.
like started that, and that because you took advantage of everyone's like they're all naive. It's COVID. Everyone's playing poker with each other, having fun. Like this is when the whole community is like
Yeah, they
kumbaya.
hated me, man.
No, this
bro.
was Cryptos was odd being like, man, everyone gives me shit for real because I speak real big, but I'm only 9 years old, and my balls haven't dropped yet, and all that stuff. But I know I'm good at this game, so I'm gonna go play under an alias and have people, pine after me and try to get me on their team and grow my ego. And then you got yes, it was
No.
that was exactly it. And then you
No,
got
it wasn't.
exposed because of the way.
It was
remember-
because of Chilite. It's because I really wanted to get into Chilite, but everyone thought I was like a kid and I couldn't be trusted and whatever. And so
And you were a kid, and you couldn't be
I-
trusted.
Yeah, you were.
I made
forgot
it
about
this whole
Chilite server.
fake identity so that I could get into this like server full of adults, and I did it. I went and I played poker with you guys, and that was like crazy. I even got an offer from 1V to join, which of course I turned down. But
I mean, Kryptos was a good player. You're an Alpha 1 player. And imagine the amount of population. Of course, you're gonna get. It's the only genuine player from back then that was actually not like something like that was Sir Void. He was the only dude from Alpha 4 that never touched the league, that played all the damn time, and just never.
he never spoke. Yeah.
And maniacal too, obviously, but that's different.
Yeah. Well, let's get. So I want to get back to the start of the league because we kind of jumped ahead, getting into 4D and all that sort of stuff, which was a little bit more towards the end of season 0. And for anyone who doesn't know what season 0, that was the King of the Hill season. We weren't like when I started the King of the Hill league, I wasn't planning seasons or whatever. It was just going to be a continuous on running sort of challenge style King of the Hill. I wouldn't even call it a league. It just this competition. It was basically like, hey, this team challenges this team, and okay, we'll schedule a match and we'll have it. And if the team lower ranked beats the team that's higher ranked than them, then they take their spot. And so the very first match was Elite versus UNSC. So the original teams, I can't remember exactly how many teams started. I think it was like 8. And the original ones, it was Elite, it was UNSC, it was Other, and HHI, and then UNSC, other, and HHI. Those three came from HH Clan. And then it was TBD, which eventually became Determined. And help me out here. Who were the others after that?
Vader,
Those are the
4DV, and then the
Yeah.
other 42D2. Because it was
true.
yeah, and that was
Yeah,
everybody.
those
So
three also.
hold on.
Was that all of them?
No, I have Dre's thing pulled up right now.
Well, there was
No, there
3
was
4D
also-
things, and there was
There was
Elite
also
and
Southern
2.
Cross, I think. Was Southern Cross there? Because I remember there were
No, not at
Australian
that point.
players.
SP
Not at
and
that
V
point.
was that a little later?
That was later. I mean, I could be mistaken, but I remember just the HH guys, and I consider elite HH guys. So there's the 3 of you guys, 3 of the young guys, and then there's my guys. Like I remember that very clearly. Like
Yeah.
we used to even talk about that. But things could have
Well,
changed
so-
quickly as people joined. You know.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a good chunk of like the original teams, if not all of them. Well, so yes, Elite had some players that were HH. I never joined a clan. I wasn't HH, but we did have Maverick, who was. We had Chapo, and that was a big thing for Chapo because he ran HH. It was a big thing for him to like play for Elite and not play for like, one of the teams that was all HH or whatever. And I remember he came to this. It was a whole thing with Chapo trying to like, because he wanted to play with us, but he didn't want to like, leave HH behind, like this whole thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was
the first
Yeah.
league drama, is what you're talking about.
yeah. But Chapo never, so this was the thing with Elite. So here's the story of the first match. Within Elite, me and 678 were the only people that gave 2 shits about strategy. And so me and 678 would in some Discord channel talk strategy, like, okay, on this map, this here's what we need to do, blah blah blah. And this is obviously before there's any meta. This is before there's any style of play other than pub play. So it's all fresh strategy. No one knows what the hell we're doing, stuff like that. And so I remember taking the team into, and I wasn't a captain or anything. Fathead was the captain, but I was like, I'm the type of personality that like, I'm not typically like, I don't have to be alpha unless I see someone is not doing something that should be being done. And then I'm like, fuck, I guess I have to do it. And then I'll alpha that thing. It's like the same thing with the league. It's like, okay, I'm just going to start this little thing because no one else has, and I'll wait for the big league to come along. And so I'll alpha this bitch just because I want to get this shit rolling. So anyway, like Fathead's whole thing was like, no, let's just wing it. We're the best players in the game. Because Fathead really thought he got all the best players in the game. Maverick was a killer. Like Maniac was a killer. Like,
Actually, I want to interject 1 second.
Killer,
If you
Yeah.
remember, nobody wanted to challenge you guys. You had a problem
Yes.
kicking off the league
Yeah.
because nobody wanted to challenge you. And I remember having the discussion in my team saying, we're the underdogs. Let's do it. We got nothing to lose. And I actually DM'd you, but at the time, the ball was already started to roll, and it didn't make sense. We were like the newbies on the block versus, getting something else on. But I wanted to put that out there because that was a solid memory of mine. I was like, you know what? Let's do this. And then, like, we ended up not doing it. It was like, all right, you know what? It worked out.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I totally forgot how people didn't want to play us. That's right. Like everyone assumed that Elite was gonna like just shred everybody, but and we might have had a chance. I mean, RDF would have beat us. Like those 4 people playing together in a house. It's like Loop. How Loop was able to come in. Season 3 or was season 3 or season 4? You guys
4
actually
was our
joined.
first full season.
Yeah, so you guys came in, but you were like a collective unit that played together. That after you played, you got to sit down and like actually talk face to face to each other about the game. And you guys went from like starting in Walker to like Sprinter champs in your first season. So it's a huge leg up. And so anyway, yeah, like no one would play us. Eventually, UNSC stepped up, probably because Style Dev wanted them to. Style Dev is just like, if he's nothing else, he's confident as hell. Style Dev is like the utmost optimist and confidence in himself, and he figured he'd go into that and play this team that nobody thought anybody could beat, and like he'd win. And so anyway, we eventually played UNSC, but Fathead was Fathead is a very confident person, and he just assumed I put the best players in the game together. We don't need to practice. Let's just go in there and wing it. And I'm like, no, we need to practice because some people are going to take it more seriously than we are. They're going to beat the hell out of us. And so I remember taking the team in, trying to do some walkthroughs and stuff like that. And by the end of a walkthrough on one map, everyone was so pissed off at me, especially Whoopsie. Was like, you just wasted all my time walking around this freaking map talking about crap instead of actually playing. And like, so like the team just wasn't into it. And this was my fault, kind of, that Elite just sort of fell apart because before I started the league, I didn't check with the players on Elite and be like, hey, you guys want to play actual competitively for real? Because at the time, they were just messing around. They'd throw the puff tag on, go challenge somebody, and have some fun. But like, when it came to like putting real time into it and getting serious, it's like Maniac's a dad, Kim is a dad. They don't have the time for that crap. Whoopsie is a mom, and Maverick's a dad. And like, they don't have time for that crap. And it's like the only people that really had the time for it and wanted to do it.
Time for that crap.
Yeah, because you have a dad and you're you're the kid and you're not the dad. So
I spent many evenings trying to whip
a dad.
the 4D
dude.
players in shape, and Makers, on the point that you were making about, or actually Lat, on the point you were making about how you can't compete with 4 guys in a basement playing together. I spent most of my time, honestly, was spent trying to emulate that. That's the whole idea of the compendium. Was, if you guys know about that, this big giant document that 4DV made, so that we could all have this hive mindy stuff that I was trying to get from TBD, and I just couldn't, because it was so.
It's just different when you know each other in person like that and can communicate outside of an online sphere.
Well, and think about the head start of coordination compared to we're all talking about bumbling around with starting the league, the first games, whatever, and then they were coordinating like already. The head start is just was ridiculous.
Yeah, knowing what works and what doesn't. Like, it took me a full probably like 3 or 4 years to get to where I'm now realizing that they knew from the start. Like, that it's like.
It's like 1B had an extensive history like playing competitive games. I mean, so he just kind of, you could pick things out from other competitive games that'll translate over here and whatever, certain roles, certain strategies, like, knowing how to be aggressive versus reactive and that sort of stuff. And so I think they had a good like base of knowledge to start off from, but also on top of that, they were all there together, so could coordinate face to face. And on top of that, they were all super passionate. And I mean, the name Determined fits them so well. Just determined to accept the challenge and be the best in the game. And like, everything just worked out perfectly for those 4, the dad and the 3 kids, to just dominate the whole thing. So, so they were set up to win from the start. And Elite was set up to fail from the start. Yeah, go ahead.
And from the outside, even to the inside perspective, the perspective I've had joining in the early to middle part of Dash League history and watching the development of these top teams and comparing it to our own development has been kind of a really interesting process. And also looking back at the very early seasons, like what recordings exist of those very early games, and watching these top teams fumble around with stuff that Walker teams nowadays do surprisingly well is also very interesting. And I wonder if that would even just be a good thing to have a whole next episode on, is the difference between season 0 to 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, dude, that's one of the things that kind of annoys me when people are like, oh man, the players these days suck, the talent's all gone and whatever. And it's like, what are you talking about? The Walker players of today would destroy a lot of the Dasher players back then. Like, so much of the learning curve that we all had to go through, being like the pioneers of meta and whatever, like it took us 2, 3, 4 seasons to get to. Like, the players that come in now come in and get coached and taught exactly like, okay, this is what you need to do. And they just get to skip all that crap and just go right to, having some basis on strategy and mechanics and all this sort of stuff. It's like, no, the talent is better now than it's ever been. Maybe at the tippy top highest level, it's a little bit lower because, if D takes the season off or or whatever. Some douchebag players got banned and don't get to play with us anymore. It's like, yeah, maybe like, you know, on the thinnest layer at the top, it's not the same, but
I
from the
mean,
bottom up, it's so much better now than it was.
well, and you also got to remember that you know, as far as that, like the whole tippy top thing, we had like a Cold War scenario. We had like we had couple small groups of super try hard, like talented, like really dedicated type of groups that just, you know, went to war, and that's going to progress things faster than if everyone's kumbaya, like, you know, having a good time, you know,
Yeah, because
keeping
it is
everything
a competitive league after all.
right. So
It's an arms race basically, like, and you
yeah,
guys are the superpowers.
and
Yeah.
and that's kind of, you know, that was the early seasons, but you're right. Right now it's like everybody knows the basics, everybody knows like the like what was considered secret or hidden or these kind of things. It's just common knowledge now, and so the overall skill base is higher, and then yeah, hopefully we see the super passionate people, and then hopefully we see a couple of them get together in good teams, and then hopefully we see them go to war without getting too toxic, you know, because that's what creates the
Yeah.
crazy stuff.
Yeah. And back makers, when you're talking about the Cold War, it advanced the top 3 teams a lot, I would say. But I would also say that it definitely hurt the rest of the league, because I mean, man, we would eat up the talent and we would just hide strats as tightly as we could. At least that's what I did, for sure.
I mean, we were all secret. Any highly competitive thing, it's like if people are trying to see what you're doing, and that gives that you lose advantage because they gain that information, then you start hiding that, and it's just natural. So yeah, we got to that level, and it got to a point where you know, there was like a feeder machine of noobs going into like training, like it's like there's a factory going on back there, you know, trying to make sure that any kind of talent doesn't go to my team. It goes to
Yeah.
one of your guys' team so that you could take us down. And it was a lot of fun. We recognized that going on. There was internal discussions if we need to do that to compete, and we decided not to. Instead, we decided to let the zombie horde come, and we would, you know, try to get better.
You
Is how
still
we
end
looked at it.
up with Koala, man. I tell you, that makes
Hey,
me
some people
mad.
don't want to be on the zombie side. Some people want to
I
be the
trained Koala
few
for
with their
like
back against the
4
wall.
months. No, it's fine. It's fine. No, Koala's
Anyway,
amazing. He's doing himself, but
Well,
yeah.
yeah, just real quick, and we'll probably get to it in later episodes. But one of the things that D did effectively to cement their position at the top was they recruited from their competition. They took Koala from Arc, they took Evil Pancake from Team Name, and you know you take the top
Pietro
players
from Other.
on
That was
your
the first one.
competition. What's that?
The first one was Pietro from Other.
Oh yeah, he was a. I remember having early on a conversation with 1V, and this just sort of tells you 1V's attitude about the whole thing. When the league was brand new, and you know I helped facilitate him getting together with you and whatever. So I thought like he'll, you know, we have a good relationship. He'll listen to me a little bit, and you know, if I ask him, hey, don't kill my league, he'll listen. And nope. So I have a conversation because he's going around trying to like pick all the best players from all the other teams and just like,
I know where
you
this is
know,
going.
leave them in the dust. And while he just creates a superpower that like no one can compete against, which eventually happened anyway. So I asked him like, dude, just please do not poach anyone for the. He's like, you're gonna make a rule against it. I'm like, no, but like, you've got enough power. You've already got the crown. No one's close to you guys. You don't need to go take the top talent from all the other teams. And he's basically like, I want to do.
Hey,
I'm gonna set
so
myself up to win no matter what. And it's like,
so in defense of 1V, you got to remember, early VR, it looked so hopeful. It was like, bro, this is gonna blow up. This is the future. This is amazing. You know, like all of us who play it, it's like, bro, this is crazy. This is gonna like blow out PC world, everything. And so,
yeah,
from 1V's perspective, he came from a pro, like legit pro world, the tippy top of like Halo, which is like the biggest of the big of that time. So he was of the big pond, not little, like top of a little pond. You know, so when you're there, you see the top teams crumble. The reasons why you lose your edge, you have to maintain it. Some other big dogs come and they take. So he saw that like insanity, and he's here. And yeah, we're in a small pond world, but at the time, it's like, bro, this is going to explode. So I could see where his brain was going. It was like, okay, let me apply all the lessons I learned in my life through that escapade now, so that at this point we are prepared for if this explodes. It never did. And then, whatever. He also didn't, completely destroy the league either. But I wanted to add the context of what was going through his brain there.
Yeah.
And I think that
I remember. Yeah, go ahead on.
I think that his building. I mean, obviously, it's been quite successful, Makers, because you guys have gone on to you're a pretty successful Veil team now, right?
Yes.
You
I
guys-
mean, we honestly we're just like we're gonna be successful at any game that the guys want to play, just because of the process, or like everyone's chemistry and willingness to be on the same page, So
I think
to be ping pong.
I think we're definitely. At least 1V and I have never seen eye to eye, but I think at least on that aspect of moving forward, I can agree with him in his methodology, seeing as we're going in the same direction.
Well, I remember those days of where everyone's thinking like, dude, Hyperdash is the shit. This game's gonna blow up. It's gonna be huge. And all of us anticipating like when we're gonna get flooded by thousands and thousands of players. And
we're gonna be millionaires. We're gonna be the pros
like,
on TV.
yeah.
We're gonna shake the president's hand for Hyperdash.
Yeah. And then it never happens. I want to get to. So let's get to the point where
take that back.
D takes the ground, and then like maybe we can call this episode. So where were we? We were at like talking about how Elite just kind of didn't want to take it competition seriously. We had a bunch of dads on the team and whatever. So we were talking about how everybody is looking at Elite like no one can beat them. They're just, they're gonna stomp everybody. They're too elite. And so anyway, so we eventually get our first match, and that's UNSC. And that team had Style Dev, Altimian, and man, I forget who else was on that original team. Moderation. Anyway, but UNSC was obviously another team of great players, and we play our match. And I don't think Elite won one map. I think it was a 2-0, and that's one thing that's stayed the same way all throughout the league. A lot of things have changed, but one thing that stayed the same was one payload, one domination, stadium tiebreaker. And so UNSC beats us, and that is such a huge blow to us in Elite, and a huge blow to everyone else in the community. And I thought losing that would be crazy. I thought losing that would be sort of a wake up call for Fathead, but not really. He still never wanted to practice, and so we really underperformed where we should have been. Like we went 3-3, but we did have the talent to be the top one or two teams at that time, but like just we had no strategy, nothing. It was basically like 5 people going out and pubbing, while other teams like UNSC was someone organized like Style and 1V, who's like we just discussed, people taking it seriously. And so we just sort of petered along. I remember we were 3-3 before I left. I'm like, this team doesn't take it seriously. And I remember after I left, I was like, okay, the teams are limited. There's only like maybe 8 teams. I'm like, who are the teams that I see that are like serious about competition? And it was like this was like right before season 1, but it was between Other and D that I want to join. I talked to both of you guys, and D was taking a long time. You remember what you guys told me, Makers? You remember what you told me in poker one day, like where D was? Because I remember it was you and Gatsby together with me in poker, and I remember I had already weeks or a few days or weeks or whatever before told you two guys like I'm interested in joining one of these 2 teams and whatever. And then we were together in poker one time. We talked about it. You remember what you told me? The reason that you guys were like hesitant?
No. What was it? I can't pull it.
It was because you guys wanted to like test out certain things and do try these little little techniques or whatever. And you guys didn't want me there as the commissioner being like, no, that's not fair. No, that's against the rules. No, whatever. You guys were like, we want to test the boundaries, and we can't test the boundaries with the commissioner on the team the way we want to.
I mean, that totally makes sense. Like, I've told you that I don't want to be in a position of authority, and then because in my brain, my job is to lead the team as best as I can, and therefore I need all the tools available to me. And if I'm to be like in a position of authority, I have to morally not do that. And we were fighting against people who were playing dirty. I mean, they're obviously either
Yeah.
caught cheating, you know. So imagine what didn't get caught, you know. So some of our harshest competition are cheaters or doing all this kind of dirty stuff. So I need to be untethered. So I always told you, it's like, bro, I wouldn't be fair. I can't be because of what I'm fighting right now. So when I look back
Cheaters
at all
like
that
God,
stuff,
yeah.
yeah, well, you know,
Whoa!
I mean, Odd did his fair share of not cheating, but using outside of, you know, the actual game itself advantages,
Yeah.
which is part of all
Very
kinds of
true.
competition. You know,
I
so.
think in our next lore episode we'll be able to get up to where to some of the Odd versus D drama
Oh
and stuff. That'll be a
my.
fun one. These next so this lore episode was just sort of setting up, getting us to like the start of the league and whatever. And the next few will be like drama focused because seasons 1 through 3.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
That was fun.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know
It was
about
good
you
times.
guys.
It was fun for you, douche weasel. But I want to find a good stopping point. So let's get to where D takes the crown. So like I said, UNSC beats Elite. So the whole thing was like, okay, it's King of the Hill, so kings wear crowns. So the thing is, like, you get the crown if you're the champion. And one thing I neglected to put in the rules was like a minimum number of matches before before the king is declared, because I never intended to like
on the rules.
I never intended to like crown a team after one match, but I had forgotten to like mention that. And so once UNSC beat us, they're like, okay, we get the crown, right? We're the kings. We won the first map. We get the crown. And of course, I want to be like, no, that's like, let's give it some time. Let's see who the real best team is. Let's let everybody play each other once, something like that. But since I was a commissioner and I was a team that lost, I figured if I don't let them have the crown, then it's just going to look petty on me. And then that's going to just set this whole league up on the wrong foot. Like, okay, the commissioner's petty as hell, and he's going to, bend the rules the way he wants to. And I just didn't want to set it up that way. So it's like, okay, you guys get the crown after one match. But then, like, I don't know if it was the second match that we ever played in the King of the Hill structure, or if it was a few matches down the road. But I think it was definitely D's or TBD's first match, and I think it was UNSC's second match. But I could be wrong. Do you remember, Makers, when you guys?
No, actually, the crown thing, it wasn't immediate because we wanted to. Well, so you got to remember there. We talked a lot about the RDF guys, but we also had like Triple X, Dubois, Esky, Phoenix, a couple other guys. So we were beating we played like Vader 4-2-D2 without like the RDF side, and RDF side beat the 40V. No, did we? No, 40V never even played us in the crown stuff.
Oh.
you guys didn't even.
40V didn't play
dodged
for a
us a
long
lot.
time. I think, they didn't play anyone. I think they like played one match at the very end before like we did season 1.
We played
they were
40V versus ILLI. That was the first non-developer thing that we played, and then I think we went back to hiding after that.
So
y'all beat us.
that,
I'm pretty sure.
But that's what happened. There was we worked away from the bottom up to the top, because once we didn't get the challenge match at the beginning, then it was like, okay, fine. Because we were literally the no names. We weren't the of the whole league. We're like the no names of the league. So it was like, all right, fine. And that's what we did. We also had to manage RDF and our guys. So we were playing at a frequency higher than any other team, because we basically were two teams in one. So we were scheduling at twice the rate of everyone else, and we were mowing through the league essentially because of that. Because it's like, oh, RDF wants a match. Well, I got to feed all the other guys too. Otherwise, it's going to seem like it's just like we're giving them the match. So we were chewing through our matchups, and there's only 7 other teams at this time. So we got to the point where it was finally time for us to challenge UNSC, and our strongest group is the RDF plus Esky or me or Triple X. That was our like alternates for that slot. And so it was like, let's do it. And then they got the challenge match, and I think Esky was in that match with the RDF guys, got the crown. And I want to say the pressure of the ARC match was, or not ARC, but 40V, like that was starting to swing. We were trying to get that to happen, but it was kind of obvious. You had a whole bunch of stuff going on, and so at some point it was called because we kind of went through the, most of the teams. I don't think we played other out of that gambit. I don't recall them on the thing. And then we got the crown,
Yeah,
and then you announced the start of the league for a proper format.
yeah, the onus for me changing it to a league structure was like once we got 10 teams or something like that. But yeah, so okay, so you guys played a bunch of teams before you hit UNSC. But yeah, when TBD faced UNSC, they beat UNSC and took the crown from UNSC, and then didn't let up on the crown until season 3, which we'll get into. And Makers and I will come to blows once we get into that discussion. It'll be fun. But that's maybe like, I don't know, that's maybe like 2 or 3 lore episodes down the way. You guys have to help me remember all the drama that happened season 1, season 2. There's so much, and I don't have a list down of all the things, so you guys will have to help me remember. But before we shut this one, I want to see like Goose or Gollum. Do you guys have any? Are there any things we didn't hit on? Any questions you guys had? How did this happen? How did that happen? Or just anything you guys find interesting about, or something you want to talk about?
It's
that we went
always
over?
interesting to be a part of this league for so many years, starting from middle of season 3 onwards, and learning bits and pieces as I kind of ingratiate myself into the community and all that, but then seeing it more kind of like on a timeline and fitting in the puzzle pieces that I've gathered over the time fit together more. It really makes a lot of sense and makes for almost kind of a more interesting story, but I don't really have anything in particular to add beyond that.
Yeah,
How about you, Goose?
I don't have anything to add, but it also I just agree with Notgollum. Like, and especially coming from a newbie standpoint, I've only been here for my second season now, so hearing, I've heard bits and pieces, but hearing these stories played out completely is just interesting.
Yeah, I imagine I speak for Makers and Odd too. It's fun to relive it and talk about it and all that.
It's been years, man. It's 2024, and then the year was 2020 during that time period. So I mean,
so official league start date was Cinco de Mayo, 2020. I think that's the day. I would have said that's either the day like the first match happened or whatever. But you said that you remember a screenshot from May 11th.
Yep.
About me helping you.
I was like, me and Esky want to start a team from scratch, is what my message was to you, and then that's when you started helping me.
Yeah, and so that means that what Cinco de Mayo was when the server opened. So that's what I call like, the birth of the league is when the server opened and it was officially open for people to come in and register their teams and all that sort of stuff. So, and that's coming up on 4 years. I mean, in 4 months it'll be 4 years that the league's been going on. So it's been a fun run, dude. It's been
long road,
what's that? Yeah, there's been so many ups and downs. There's been times where I've just been like, screw this, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. There's been other times where it's like I've just thoroughly enjoyed every aspect of it. But I guess unless you guys have anything else to add, we can cut this one here. But I think so. As far as what shape this cycle circle back takes is, of course, we're always going to do a recap on the cycles matches. Hopefully each time we could do sort of a breakdown of something. I might open some channels up in the Discord for you guys to suggest to us which plays or match or whatever to break down, because I'm pretty sure we have like 25 matches a cycle, and I doubt anyone's watching all of them. And I'm fairly busy, and I don't get to watch many matches at all. So it's like I'm not the best person to be like, oh, that was a great play, this match, when maybe there were 10 other matches that had even greater plays or whatever to go over. But so we might set up some channels for you guys to give us some suggestions to talk about. And so we'll see how it develops. We also want to do in this show some maybe we'll definitely have some interviews, and maybe have like some panel discussions on like certain subjects. And when I'm talking about like panel suggestions, I mean like so the regulars of the show will hopefully be the 5 of us. And I don't think all of us are going to be able to be here for all the shows. You know, things happen and whatever. But in general, the 5 of us are going to be the regulars, and a panel would be like getting 2 or 3 or however many non-regulars, and have a discussion about a certain subject or whatever. So certain things like that. If you guys have suggestions for a type of show or something you'd like us to go over, we would like a lot of community feedback on what you would like to see on the show here. So we'll try to open up discussion about that. But like we said, we'll kind of it'll morph into something most likely as we go on and figure out different things to do, and we get things rolling a little bit more efficiently than we did for this first show and whatever. So we'll see what it turns into, but hopefully you guys enjoy it. I definitely enjoyed going over the lore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know people are always asking about lore, so I'm like, well, let's lay it all out and have that conversation. So anyway, fun talking to you guys this time around, and we'll see you guys next time in a couple weeks.
Always.
Peace.
All right.
All right,
All right.
guys. Later.